Okay, here we go. I am here today with Jimminy Cricket.
I thought my name was going to be Red, but that's fine.
Okay, alright, Red.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call yourself.
Red is much better.
Red is much better. Okay, so I'm here today with Red, last name unknown, and we're just going to talk about nothing.
Hold on, but you said that it's unknown, and that's just a mispronunciation. It's unknown.
Oh, it's unknown.
Unknown.
Okay, I'm here with Red Unknown.
Red unknown. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And we're going to talk about nothing and everything at the same time. The first thing that I'd like to talk about with you is that hat you're wearing.
This hat is to cover up a hairdo. So I really needed my hair cut.
Yeah.
Like, a lot. And I had been calling the salon that I normally go to a lot. Like, at least 5, 6 separate times.
Okay.
And I was just like, well, screw them, because they're not calling me back, and I got to get my hair cut. So I had my ex-wife do it.
Oh.
And she did phenomenally, except for the hard part. Because the hard part...
He's showing me his hair, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I understand you guys can't see it. But so a hard part is supposed to be a very...
Distinct line.
A very distinct, but still understated. It's not supposed to be very wide or particularly noticeable. It's something that sets off the look.
Yeah.
But she's never done a hard part before.
Okay.
And so I give her props because she did, a bang-up job on the rest of the hair, considering the, equipment that we had. But...
Plus, I assume lack of actual skill.
Well, I mean, she's fairly talented when it comes to stuff like that, which is why I trusted her to cut my hair.
Oh, that's cool.
Because I don't trust myself to cut my hair.
Yeah.
But, so she did a pretty good job, but the hard part, like some of the hair near it got buzzed, and the hard part is also a little wide.
Yeah.
So, I've also been wearing a hat a lot lately in the past couple of weeks, because it means that I don't have to fix my hair in the morning. It's a lot. It's a work hat, so I'm totally allowed to wear it all day at work.
So the message is, when you have a problem in life, you sweep it under a rug, or you put a hat on.
Or you put a hat on.
Yeah.
And that's what I've decided to do.
Okay. So, are you going to be fixing this hair, or you're just going to let it go?
I'm probably just going to let it grow out until it can actually be long enough to go and get it fixed at the salon without them having to buzz my head.
I remember a picture of you.
No, you don't.
I do. I remember a picture of you when you had long, shaggy hair. Like Shaggy himself.
I disagree.
Okay.
But not because I don't think that I looked like Shaggy in many ways.
You did.
But just because that never happened.
It did happen.
No, it didn't.
You even have,
exist.
the chin hair?
Yeah, but it was, really scraggly at that point.
Just like Shaggy.
Hold on. Alright? It's been a while since I was able to grow full beard.
Yeah.
Just can't do it.
Like Joe Dirt?
Mm.
Like a patchy, or just grows in exactly the same way?
I mean, it grows in kind of patchy. It grows in heavier on some sides than others, and, there's big splotches that miss. So I try to tailor it so that, it doesn't look awful.
Yeah.
But that also involves effort. And I don't like expending effort.
So you've been going through some weird stuff recently, work-related. You got a store and then decided that you didn't want to do that anymore. So you just kind of stopped that, and now you're back to where you were prior. Is that right?
With a $1 pay raise.
With a $1 pay raise.
And getting more hours than I was before, which is good. Because it's still not the 60 to 65 that I was working as store manager.
So pay attention to how amazing this feat is that he's accomplished. He had a position, got promoted to a higher position as a store manager, decided that wasn't for him, stopped that position, and still kept a $1 an hour raise at his prior position. I'm pretty sure that everyone in the world wishes that type of scenario would happen to them.
Yeah, because, okay, so last week I got my check, and it was X number of dollars.
Yeah.
And the week prior to that, I got my very last check as store manager, which was a salary of X dollars per week, with the potential to bonus.
Yeah.
If my store was profitable enough.
Yeah.
The store that I got put in was absolutely broken, and they decided it would be a really good idea to take someone who is green and had never run a store before, but had done reasonably well at a store that was in very good condition, running-wise.
Yeah.
And put him in that broken store. It was a bad idea. It was a really bad idea. I felt like dying a lot of the time. I was overworked. I was, what's the word? Underslept?
Underslept.
I was underslept.
Lack of sleep.
I had sleep deprivation issues.
Okay.
I was drinking a lot, basically from the time I got home to the time I went to sleep, which, again, working as many hours as I did was often like just a 3-hour span before I had to go to sleep.
Just as a side real quick, drinking heavily of any type of imbibing in alcohol, would you say that just made you feel on the shittier side? Or
probably did.
I mean, probably, or did you actually... I know that you haven't been drinking as much lately, so are you feeling a little better from not imbibing so much?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can definitely tell a difference in how sharp your mental state is and how more connected to everything you are when you don't drink excessively every night. More importantly, it's probably less that, like, I feel rejuvenated and more like I'm not constantly in that shit state.
Yeah. I heard that you've been thinking about going to the gym and also maybe considering drinking some more water.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I definitely try to drink more water because I have a job that's inside, outside. I work at an automotive repair shop.
Yeah.
We do tires, brakes, alignment, suspension, basic engine repairs, but everything to do under that umbrella. And I am in the shop a lot. And occasionally I get out there and I work and actually do tires with the technicians to help speed them along because they're slow and retarded.
Oh, okay.
That's not true. Jason's a great kid.
Okay. All right.
No, but we have a short staff.
Yeah.
Because we had somebody that decided they were going to leave because he got his check, like, I think his first full check or whatever, and he came back from lunch and said, "I'm not working for this. I work too hard to get paid just this little amount. I'm leaving." And he packed up his toolbox and he never came back. What he had failed to understand was that when you call out one day and you leave early 2 other days, your check's probably just not going to be that great.
Yeah.
So there's that.
What made you...
Also, real quick about the money thing, I made $30 less this past week.
Oh, to get back to the X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
Right.
The X amount of dollars. I made $30 less as new service manager than I did as X store manager.
I mean...
because I wasn't bonusing.
That's the best possible scenario.
Yeah. So you can keep your shitty $4 an hour that I worked for the extra 10 hours.
Yeah.
Like, you can keep it.
Keep it, man. So... I know that nobody else knows that's listening, but I know that you are a pretty avid and serious car enthusiast. I know that you happen to very much enjoy a good vehicle. And do you think that this is why you decided to get into the car automotive business that you're in right now?
So, the fair answer is that it probably had something to do with me going in the direction that I went into the automotive industry. But less that and more that I wanted a job change.
Yeah.
Because I was working at Walmart and that just wasn't working out so well. So I needed something different and something that I could grow in that wasn't quite as bureaucratic as Walmart and gigantic corporations are, which is kind of funny because I started at Kaufman and then they were bought up by Mavis, which is a gigantic corporation.
Right.
Just a few short months later. So I started at that job October 31st of 2017.
Okay.
And by May of the following year, I was assistant manager. I had gone from entry-level oil and tire technician to assistant manager. A couple weeks of that, I went into the floating manager role, which is where I went from store to store, still assistant manager, that needed help, and I learned a lot of things really quickly about the managerial side of the business and how to run a store and how to keep customers happy and how to actually like make money for the store.
So just to make it clear for the listeners, you were a floating manager. This is a person who you're going where you're needed at multiples of different random stores.
Right. Only one for any given day, and I might be at that same store 2 or 3 days in a row, or one day earlier in the week and one day in the middle of the week.
Did you enjoy doing that?
It was interesting.
To new places?
Some of the drives were pretty long commutes. Brookhaven is a place in Atlanta that is approximately an hour from my house when you look at traffic. And that's a heck of a commute, man. A place that was even further away on the northwest side of Atlanta, and that was about an hour to an hour and 15. Well, maybe about an hour, but it was a much longer distance. It was fun. I did that for a couple of months, made some of the biggest checks I've ever made in my entire life because the commission program for floating managers was pretty good. And a couple of months of doing that, they had me on a phone call, and my district manager, who I was basically directly reporting to, which is kind of strange because I was only an assistant manager, said, hey, how about we give you a couple dollars of a pay raise? And actually he said, how about we give you $1 pay raise and set you back down in Peachtree City as the service manager of that shop? And I said, let's go for $2.
Yeah.
And he made that happen, and so I started as service manager there. My checks dropped significantly. I was a lot happier. It was a much better environment. It was run properly, and that let me grow in certain other ways, but it didn't let me grow in some very much needed ways to run a store, and that put me where I was about a month ago. Had just started managing this store that was broken.
Yeah.
Everything about it was broken.
Right.
It just was. I mean, I'm going back to that, but it was just broken.
Yeah.
Like, the tire room was a wreck. The technicians had run the shop for about the past year. Nothing got done. Nothing was profitable. And the store is still failing. And that makes me feel a little bit better. But anyway, gave up that store. They put me over in a store that is about 50 minutes drive from my house. So it's still pretty far. But they gave me the $1 an hour pay raise. And I've learned in that amount of time how to be a much more aggressive, convincing, and persuasive, but not evil salesman.
Oh, okay.
Because in Peachtree City, I was kind of learning how to be the evil salesman.
Yeah.
And I still am every once in a while.
Well, I mean, a company's got to make money.
Yeah. So do I.
Yeah. I get you. So let's talk about your enthusiasm for vehicles. I know you like to go fast.
I do. Fastest I've been in this vehicle. This is my current vehicle. It is my daily driver, I guess. But since it's my only one, I guess it has no choice but to be my daily driver.
Right.
It is a 2013 Audi A6 Quattro with a 2.0 liter turbo engine. And fastest I've gotten it is 130. That's where the electronic speed limiter comes into play.
Governor.
Yeah, that one. Also a speed limiter, sir.
Well, whatever you want to call it.
With certain delimitings, it could probably do about 140, maybe 150 stock.
How do you feel when you're going 130 miles an hour?
Things happen really quick.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
Like that traffic that's way down there is not way down there for very long at all.
Yeah.
Like, in just a couple of seconds, you're up on it because you're going literally twice as fast as you should probably go.
Are you nervous ever going that fast in a car?
Oh, sure. But that's why you wait for an opportune time to do it. Like, I don't zip in and out of traffic, and I don't play that game.
Yeah.
I've gotten older and wiser, and I know that if I have to zip-zag out of traffic, zip-zag, zip and zoom in and out of traffic to go fast, then it's probably not worth it, and I'm probably going to do something that's either going to get me hurt, in jail, or both.
Or somebody else hurt.
And that's no fun.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not going to be fun for them.
No, not at all. But that is not the fastest I have gone. The fastest I have gone was when I had a brand spanking new 2009 Audi TTS, which is a little two-door sports car, and I got up to 161 outside of Vegas. with my best friend at the time asleep in the passenger seat, the car filled with a week's worth of luggage for each of us when we had gone on a big cross-country road trip.
That's like approaching NASCAR speed.
Yeah. Like
160 miles an hour?
That car had really good brakes, and let me just go ahead and tell you, your brakes start not working very quickly when you brake from 160 miles an hour. So it's best just to kind of not do it where you're going to need to brake very quickly.
I want to make it known right now, I will never be in a vehicle with any human being that decides that they want to go 160 miles an hour. I've hit 100 before, and that's just fast enough for me. I don't need to go any faster than that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we got up to 110 in the Charger they let me rent.
Okay, so let's pretend that didn't happen. But so you had
so
some.
He's gone up to 110 in a vehicle.
Yeah, you've had some maintenance things happen with your current vehicle, and so you had to get a couple of rentals.
Yeah, so they were doing recall work on my car. One was for an airbag issue with the passenger seat, and the other was with the water pump, which can apparently cause some engine fires due to some weird electrical connections or something like that.
Yeah.
German car, very, very bad with electrical problems. They are. And there's no ifs, ands, and buts about that. So I dropped my car off with them, and they gave me a loaner from the Enterprise next door because they didn't have any loaner vehicles for me to use. And they told me that it was a process. Normally takes 2 to 3 hours. I'd probably have my car back by the end of the day. And if I needed to wait until the next day to come and pick my car up, that was fine. So they let me go home in this pretty new, I don't know what year it was, Dodge Charger. And that one was a lot of fun.
Have you ever been in a Dodge Charger before?
I have not. And certainly the newer ones are pretty fantastic cars. I felt very engaged. Performance-wise, this one was likely similar, maybe like an itsy-bitsy tiny bit faster than the car that I currently drive, but it felt faster.
Right.
It sounded nicer. It was not very fuel efficient, but that might have had something to do with my foot, because it's a car that inspires you to put your foot down.
Yeah, certainly.
It can get sideways very easily, even with the little V6 in it.
Top heavy?
It is a very heavy car, but it's just such a properly built car. Like,
yeah.
It just, the brakes do stop. The engine does go. Like, the car does turn, even though it's an American-made muscle car, whatever, yada, yada. Like, it goes and it turns and it does stuff.
You ever found yourself out of control?
In that car, no.
In that car, no.
I probably could have put myself in a situation that would have been out of control in that car, because the Audi is way more stable and way more sedated just in how it goes. But anyway, a couple of days later, they still had my car. They were having some issues with the work, and so they put me in a loaner car because they didn't want to pay Enterprise anymore. So they put me in a loaner car. It was a 2019 Audi Q5.
2019.
It was brand spanking new. It had 2,500 miles on it when I got in it.
That's crazy. I've never been in a car that new.
And that car had every possible feature that you could want an SUV to have. The seats were actually fairly sporty.
What was this vehicle again?
A Q5. So it's a smallish mid-size SUV, and it was faster than mine. It was more fuel efficient than mine. It had tons of creature comforts. It was very comfortable to drive. The moonroof was absolutely gigantic, so large that I had gone on a date while I had that vehicle, and at some point afterwards, of course, parked, not driving around, we opened up the moonroof and hung out of the moonroof, just taking pictures and listening to Post Malone.
You could both fit out of that moonroof?
We could both fit out of the moonroof. We were standing up in the driver and passenger seat. We took our shoes off, of course, because I didn't want to pay for anything on this car.
Yeah, yeah.
Very expensive
That's
car.
a big moonroof, though.
It was a huge moonroof.
And you're saying that a small size SUV was faster than your current vehicle, which is a regular sedan?
Yeah, I mean, it's 6 years newer. They've modified the 2-liter engine to put out more power, but it's also more efficient, and it's a better car. Like, it's the evolution of what it should be. Now, to be fair, the car was not that much heavier than my current one, but it was heavier.
Yeah.
And still faster and still more fuel efficient.
So would you say that a newer vehicle in itself is always going to be better than an older vehicle? Or are there some, like, classics out there that they just work well?
There's certain ones that don't need to be built and expanded on very much. The Charger was an example of a car that started off okay and got really great.
Yeah.
A lot of Audis have had their ups and downs. BMW has had their ups and downs. Those are incredibly high maintenance vehicles, and I don't want one for any amount of time where I make less than $150,000 a year.
Oh.
Yeah, they're extremely expensive to maintain, and if you have one, you had better have another vehicle because it's going to work well and it's going to be extremely fun while it works, but if your BMW will break.
Yeah.
It will, and you're going to have another car to drive around in the meantime.
You've had some vehicle trouble in the past. I know that.
I don't want to talk about that.
I know that vehicle maintenance can be very frustrating. I've had my fair share of vehicle dilemmas in the past.
He has, and I've been there to help out with a lot of those. Some of them, at least.
Yeah.
Some of them I could help with. Some of them not so much. Like, we got his car running in tip-top condition. And that thing is just going fantastic right now.
Yeah.
And it was a little bit of YouTube, some of my knowledge, and
determination.
Yeah, just some work.
Yeah.
And that's another one of the good things about working where I work is I can oftentimes get parts, pieces, maintenance items done for extremely cheap. Like, I just got some wiper blades that would have cost average Joe like $65.
Yeah.
Like, top of the line. They don't make a better wiper blade than this. I haven't gotten to use them because it hasn't rained in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's dry.
Yeah. But, best ones they make, and I got them for $40.
That's sweet, man. So there's advantages to working in your line.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and that's like a mild discount. Like, there's other stuff that I get done for no more than a $20 tip that would cost me $130 normally.
Well, I'm sure that everyone is very jealous of that. The point is you should always know a mechanic or someone that works in some type of automotive business.
And also, please, for the love of God, keep up your vehicles. I understand it's expensive, but that's the way you get around. Like, that's how you make your money.
Yeah.
Like, even if you have a crappy vehicle, make sure your crappy vehicle runs well.
Yeah. So, I know that you have a love of cars, and I believe now everyone else knows that you have a love of cars. But
sure they do.
I also know that you have a love of the ladies. And I know that you've been in some interesting situations recently, or maybe happy. I don't know what you want to call them, but tell me about the love life, man. What's going on that front?
So, although I do have a love for ladies, I am not a man whore.
You're not a man whore.
So, contrary to what Zach believes, I am not a man whore.
You're a good-looking guy.
I can be good with the ladies, but I'm not a man whore. Like, that doesn't appeal to me. As a matter of fact, for the past, I don't know, like, almost year and a half, I've pretty much been single.
Yeah.
Like, I've gone on that date with the girl some time ago, and the date went very well. Didn't really talk to her very much afterwards because our conversation fell off. I then had, like, a few weeks later, my birthday party where I turned 29 and invited her. It was the biggest party I've ever thrown. It was actually really cool, really fun. Everybody had a great time. We had a little bonfire out back. We had music and food, and pretty much all the food was homemade. Because Crystal, my ex-wife, her boyfriend, who lives in England, was making all the food, and he's a fantastic cook. He is actually, yeah, so that's a story in and of itself.
Yeah.
But, everybody was having a good time. Girl comes over. We're having a good time. She's not all over me, but very interested in me the entire night. We go to lay down. She's like, oh, yeah, I'm staying here. And, oh, yeah, I'm, like, this is the room. Like, I was like, oh, wow, okay, so we're doing this.
Yeah.
And we go to sleep, and we cuddle, and pretty sure I felt a nipple at some point.
A nipple?
Yeah. It's nice to...
Hey, man.
I mean, she got little boobies, but I had to put my hand up her shirt so I could, like, pull her close to me.
That made the night worth it right there.
That was the best sleep. I'm not going to lie. That was the best sleep I've gotten probably in the past year.
Wow.
And it just
so
felt
body
nice.
Warmth was beneficial for you.
It was not being alone.
Yeah.
Like, to be completely honest, it was the fact that there was someone there that, at least at the time, I thought cared about me a lot. So I wake up in the morning, I've got to go to this meeting because at this point in time, I'm still store manager, and I actually got to sleep in a little bit later than I normally would. But I wake up, and before I go, she's like, "Oh, I don't want you to go." And I was like, "Well, I don't want to go." And so I give her like a little bit of a kiss on the forehead or whatever. I was like, "Can I have a real one before I leave?" And she gives me a real kiss. And haven't hung out with her since.
Maybe that's where you messed up right there.
Basically ghosted me.
She ghosted you. Maybe it's because you didn't just give that kiss. The assertiveness. I think women like an assertive guy. Maybe it's because you asked. Maybe it just turned her off.
Possibly. And if that's the case, then screw her.
Yeah, shallow.
Because, I mean, again, for the past year and a half, I've been relatively single, and although there's a lot of times that it sucks, it's let me focus a lot more on myself.
Yeah.
And a lot of that hasn't been necessarily positive and growing. But I have learned a lot about myself because I have been single, and that's now letting me put certain things into place that are making me very successful. I mean, again, since I had basically ended or had an input to mine and Crystal's marriage, I went on to become manager, floating manager, service manager, opportunity for store manager, and I'm making like not bad money.
Yeah.
But sometimes that's just not enough. So what I did some months ago was I started selling.
Selling?
I started selling.
What did you sell?
I sell mostly very green things.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like selling green things.
Okay.
Because I like green things.
Right.
And I've been, using these green things for a pretty significant amount of time at this point. Like, with very little not using those green things. And
I know that there's some people in Colorado that very much prefer these green things.
Yeah, man. A lot of people in Colorado. Washington really likes those green things. California is like pretty big on those green things.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you know what? I want some more green things, and I want to get it at a price that's not going to break my bank, and also maybe be able to like turn a profit on it.
Yeah.
So I did, and for a while it was going pretty well. Not selling to that many people.
Just so everyone is clear, we're speaking about candles. There's a really, really big market for winter green candles right now, and they're selling like hotcakes. And he threw parties for these and all sorts of stuff. And he's just kind of telling you about the candles that he has been selling and how that went for him.
Yeah, man. I go through a lot of them, and at one point I was going... I was going through quite a bit for my own personal use of these candles, but I was selling more than I was using, so there was definitely a net gain, and I could pretty easily make $100 to $150 extra a week doing basically nothing, because all you have to do is weigh up these candles,
right,
and then sell those candles, and then you have money.
And on top of it, your house probably smells fantastic.
It smelled pretty good.
Yeah.
They definitely leave around an odor. It's like...
I'd assume a good odor.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad odor. Like,
yeah.
It means happiness.
It does mean happiness. If you have never lit a winter green candle in your home before and just sat around and really enjoyed that, I'd recommend it strongly.
I would recommend lighting up a winter green candle several times a day.
Several times a day.
Several times a day.
It can get costly.
It can get costly, but that's why I sell these candles.
Yeah. That's I can't even we're gonna move on from that.
Yeah. But business is down, so mostly I just make enough to cover the winter green candles that I use.
That you light yourself.
Yeah. I light them much less often, but that's part of a personal thing I'm going through.
Right.
I'm trying to like desaturate myself of candle.
Yeah, as we all should probably. No, everything is okay in moderation, right?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
No.
So I also know that you just went through a pretty intense procedure. You had something going on with your optical sockets, your vision.
Yeah, something
and
like that.
I wanna hear about that, man. How did it go? What are the complications of it? What was the issue that you had in the first place?
So quick throwback to what was actually going on. 2013, I got in a very bad car crash because I was doing something that I shouldn't have been doing, and I got airlifted to the hospital, was in a coma for 10 days, in the hospital for a total of 3 weeks and a day, had to learn to walk again, write again. My speech was very slow at first. I collapsed a lung, I cracked my C1, C2, and C3 vertebrae, which is in your neck, which is not a good thing to crack.
Definitely not.
I had traumatic brain injury, crack on the right orbital floor of my right eye socket, which, strangely enough, is not the eye that gave me problems. And broke a couple ribs, had pretty good amount of numbness in my left arm, as if I had had a stroke, maybe. Anyway, so
this was a serious car accident.
Yeah, I got pretty jacked up.
Yeah.
And only recently, this past February, I got a surgery to correct it because I have insurance and I had saved up some money. So I went and got the surgery.
What exactly was your eye doing?
So what had happened is I hit my head so hard in that car crash, or rather the crash itself was so jarring. I don't know if it was actually a head injury. Although I did break the steering wheel with my forehead.
You broke the steering wheel with your face?
Because the airbags didn't go off.
Okay.
Yeah, so I broke the steering wheel with my face.
Okay.
And, they had to take an aneurysm out at some point while I was in the hospital, too. Because I had developed one. Yeah, it's pretty...
That's a lot, man.
It's pretty gnarly. Anyway, so it knocked me cross-eyed. So when Mama and Daddy were telling you that they'd slap you so hard it would knock you cross-eyed, they may or may not have been telling the truth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So when that happens, it basically means you see double of everything. And so I had to cover up one eye so that my other eye could see properly without having another image. The downside of that is
you wear glasses, right?
Yeah, I wear glasses and I taped up one side.
So you had to put something to obstruct the view of one of your eyeballs so your other eye was able to properly see.
Yep, and specifically it was my right eye that worked properly and still more or less is, but I'll get to that. So the left eye also sees everything at a tilt.
Okay.
Like, the axis is turned about 10-ish degrees.
So it's like you're looking a little bit sideways through one eye, but the other eye is looking forward.
Right. And that can cause some obvious tracking and fusion issues. But I covered up that one eye so that I could see everything straight and level.
But your depth perception is just gone.
But depth perception went out the window. I mean, not entirely out of the window. A lot of your depth perception is learned. Like, I mean, if you're sitting still, it's pretty easy for your brain to process how far away the tree is that's sitting in front of us, how far away the front door is, how far away Zach is sitting from me. But there's a lot of very quick decisions that need to be made regarding depth perception.
Right.
That don't happen. And a lot of, like, your speed relative to another object doesn't happen the same way when you don't have depth perception. Case in point, while driving, if someone ahead of you is put on their brakes, proper depth perception binocularly perceives the vehicle in front of you getting closer. With just one eye, you don't have that binocular depth perception, and so your brain has to understand that that object is getting bigger in your field of vision, and therefore is getting closer.
So that's how you coped with that.
Right, and so that can also create issues, because if your brain doesn't realize it fast enough, as an example, I was really bad at catching things, and I'm still not great. Like, I've never been a great thrower and catcher. Like, that's just not my forte. But like,
so like if someone threw you a baseball, for example, it'd be relatively hard for you to catch that.
Or real world scenario, throwing car keys to me while I'm in the shop. Don't throw those to me. I'm not going to catch them.
Yeah.
because they might be coming at my face.
Right.
I don't have enough depth perception to, like, figure out if that's what's actually going on.
So that also threw off your reaction times just in general.
For the most part, because my brain had to process it for longer.
Right.
But anyway, I got it fixed. So they did a corrective strabismus surgery where they go...
Say that one more time.
Corrective strabismus surgery.
Corrective strabismus surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And this isn't like a LASIK thing.
No. They go inside with, like, metal and stuff and tweak the lengths of the muscles in your eye that move your... Well, not in your eye, but around your eye that move your eye in the direction that you want it to go. And they shorten or lengthen them so that it aligns your eyes better. Basically, they gave my eyes an alignment.
So they're putting, like, needles...
Probably.
Into your eyeball.
And scalpels and other sharp things.
They're just moving it all around.
Mm-hmm. Fortunately, the guy was a very good surgeon. He had his picture on the cover of, like, Top Doctor magazine for, like, the past 5 or 10 years.
Well, that's fortunate.
Well, he was on, like, a lot of them. Like, at least 7 of the 10 that were in his office.
Okay.
Others where he was just mentioned. Anyway, got that done. Didn't notice a huge difference immediately, and at first it was extremely discouraging because I thought this was supposed to be kind of like the magic bullet.
Yeah, fix all.
And it was not. So go on, have my post-op about a week and a half later. And up until that point, things had been rocky, but I was getting used to it. Like, I still would wear my... covered glasses every once in a while for certain activities, particularly driving, because that was unsettling to drive around and not be able to properly focus my eyes, because it was much like it was before. It was just easier for me to kind of line everything up now that I'd had the surgery.
Are you still wearing a patch over your eye infrequently?
I don't do it at all anymore unless I do this more often, I'll just close the other eye. If I need to focus at something, because sometimes reading can be a little on the difficult side, because the tilt is still there. So they lined them up horizontally much better, but the tilt is still there, and that's something that they might be able to fix, but they'll only fix it many, many months from now. Occasionally I have periods where I do see properly.
Yeah. Like,
everything just lines up perfectly the way that it should, and I can enjoy true, full binocular vision, and at some point, very shortly later, it will go back out of focus or whatever, and it gets more difficult the more tired I am. Also, the more sleep that I get, the more likely it is to do proper.
So, you would say that this wasn't an end-all, be-all for fixing your eyes properly, but would you say that there is a success here? Are there successes? Have you enjoyed what has happened since your surgery?
Oh yeah, I mean, because again, for the most part, I go around without the patch on my eyes at all, and there are times where I see very real positive differences that it's made, and I also understand that it's a process because my left eye had essentially atrophied for the past 5 or 6 years.
Right.
Because I didn't use it.
Right.
Because it got in the way.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of learning how to be an eye again.
So, I'm sure, and I haven't asked you about this at all, but I'm sure that you have a few things in your life right now that you've set as a goal or as something that you're working toward. So, we're coming to the end of the podcast here, but I just want you to try and give somebody some kind of a positive message. They've learned a lot about you. Maybe tell them how you've grown, or tell them what you're looking forward to in the future, or years from now, or months from now.
I mean, it's really very much a growing process, because there are a lot of areas that I need to improve on, but I am coming to terms with and finding the ways that I need to improve a lot more actively now.
Can you give me an example of one of those things?
No, I can't.
Why not?
Well, I don't know.
I think that you've got one thing in your mind that you just kind of want to work on.
Biggest thing I'd say that I would want to work on, that I want for myself, is personal image.
Personal image.
Personal image. And it comes from a very mostly shallow part of me that wants to work on that.
So, personal image being how other people perceive you or how you perceive yourself?
Both.
Both? Such as making yourself look better, more fit, or changing the clothes you wear?
Getting fit, I do need to get a little bit more of a wardrobe going on because I haven't really gone proper clothes shopping in many years. So now periodically I'll stop by a Goodwill and pick up some neat shirts.
So you're not going to start like wearing suits or anything though?
No, absolutely not. I mean, I need a suit. That's one of the things that I need, but I'm not going to start wearing suits now.
Yeah. So your goal is to better yourself in terms of self-image and how others see you and how you see yourself.
Yeah, and also get out of debt.
Get out of debt. Yeah. That's another one of your goals.
I'm in a pretty decent bit of debt still.
Okay.
And I've been working towards that for the past year and a half.
So have you been successfully putting money toward this debt?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's, credit cards that I had $2,000 on that were maxed out that I've gotten down to zero. One that was at $1,000 that I've gotten down to zero. One that I took a $5,000 balance down to $3,000.
That's impressive.
I've worked off certain other debts, paid certain other bills, and all while affording myself a relatively nice life.
Yeah. I mean, that's a success, man.
Yeah, it's a success, but there's still a lot to go.
There is a lot to go, but maybe look at that and understand that you've made a lot of big improvements in your life.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's incredible, man. There's a lot of people that they might not ever get out of any kind of debt. And to even pay off a single credit card, regardless of the amount, is a feat.
It is. I mean, in some ways, I'm still acquiring new debt, but it's also things that I've either put off or delayed in getting. I don't know. Delete that. Sorry.
So we know that all of us have ups and downs in life. It happens. So when you're going through something such as debt or getting into a car accident
or divorce
or anything that can be terrible. I mean, those are all absolutely terrible things that can happen to you. You've grown from these things. You're better for it now because you've learned from them. And how would you describe to someone how to kind of keep chugging along, to persevere?
I mean, as far as it goes, you just got to keep on.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's really all there is to it because you're going to have to keep on.
Yeah.
You just gotta.
Yeah. So no matter what gets thrown your way, you're going to have to go through that, and hopefully you've learned and grown from it.
And things get bad. Things get real bad. Sometimes scary bad, real quick.
Yeah.
But you gotta keep going.
Yeah, man.
I mean, you're just trying to improve on yourself. You're just trying to, I don't know, delete that.
So, as far as learning goes and just growing through things, what message would you give to them, or what message do you just have for yourself that says, when you have ups and downs, how do you get through it?
Biggest thing is just persevering, man. I mean, you got to push through it because there is a better future for you, but you have to make it.
Wow. That's heavy.
People aren't just going to hand you the future.
Yeah.
You got to make your future.
You got to work hard for that shit.
You got to work real fucking hard for that shit.
Yeah.
But you got to work for it.
Well, Mr. Red Fiduciary, Unknown, whatever your name is, I thoroughly enjoyed talking with you, and I would love to have you back on so we can talk some more about some vehicle stuff or anything that you want to talk about one of these days. But I think that you've given a lot of random great information to people. You've told them how to persevere. You've taught them about some car stuff and some relationship stuff and some work stuff. And it's all just beautiful things, man. Because we're all just normal people. We're all going through regular, everyday things and whatnot, and however that's going on for everybody. So I just would like to say before I go that hopefully you got a good message from this, and understanding that there's some people that have went through some heavy shit and they're okay. They're gonna be okay because you can come out no matter what's going on in your life. with something better for you. So focus on you and try to go out and help somebody else out. Thanks so much for listening. Have a good one.